We are live. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome, Kenneth. This is our casual convo with Kenneth at Common Hawthorn. So, hello to everyone coming into the chat and everyone who will be watching the playback. How are you, Kenneth?
I'm good. I'm enjoying the transition to summer.
Yes, same. I like the longer days. I mean, I don't like
Yeah,
sweating, but I do like
yeah, that is a problem for
Yeah, I
me.
do like how there is more sunlight. So I do enjoy that. Okay. So would you start by, for those who might not be as familiar with your channel, which by the way, I have Kenneth's socials in the description box below. So please do check that out and subscribe if you have not already. But yeah, if you want to give just a little bit of an intro about yourself before we move on.
Sure. I grew up in Southern California in a farming town.
Mhm.
Went to University of California at Davis,
Nice.
and since then I've mostly lived in cities. I lived in San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Boston, and
Philly.
for yeah, for 3.5 years now I've lived in Provincetown, Massachusetts, which is in the summer a busy metropolis of 60,000 people, and in the winter is 3,000 people.
Wow.
And
That's fantastic.
yeah, and for the last 35 years, I've worked for liberal religious organizations, either Quaker or Unitarian Universalist, and recently made at most of that time as an editor, and recently made a shift to a local job for a local congregation
Mhm.
with low stress and low pay, and doing uh, screening up freelance work as an editor on the side. So
Gotcha, okay, so you're doing editor on the side, but then this is the main shift, your 9 to 5.
yeah,
Gotcha,
yeah.
okay. Very nice. Hello, Star, welcome. Hello, Lisa, good to see you again. Thank you for being here. All right. Kenneth, are you ready for the
I'm
icebreaker?
ready.
You're ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so let's start with the firsts. The first deck you ever remember buying.
It was either the Rider Waite Smith or the oh, I'm glad I made notes because or the Aquarian Tarot. I mean,
Ah,
it
the
was
aquarium.
back in it was either the late 70s or the early 80s, and I don't
Mhm.
remember which it was.
Gotcha. And then do you still have those?
I have the Rider Waite Smith that I think
Okay.
is the one that I would have bought back then. And then I got back into tarot in
Mhm.
2019.
Okay.
And yeah,
Okay. Did you pass on the Aquarian or did you keep that one too?
I have no idea. I have no recollection of what I did with the aquarium.
What's the first deck you ever remember passing on?
It, I in 2019, I bought several decks all at once,
Mhm.
including Ethereal Visions and the OK Tarot.
Okay, Tarot.
And OK Tarot is a small pink deck with just very simple line
Oh,
drawings.
the very minimal one.
Very minimal,
Very
like as
minimal.
minimal as I've ever seen.
Yes, yes, I do remember that one. Yes.
And
Oh,
I passed both of those along within a couple of months.
okay.
Well, the
Okay,
Ethereal
understood.
Visions I had bought because it reminded me of the Aquarian Tarot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's got that
Um,
it has the pretty gold foiling as well, right? Is that the
yeah,
one?
and it
But it didn't
didn't
it didn't
really,
really
yeah,
jive with you.
work for me.
I hear ya.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy. And hello, River Tree. Nice to see you. Okay. First deck in your collection that was not based on RWS.
Well, I had trouble answering this. The easiest
Okay.
answer is to say the Marshmallow Marseille because
Okay.
it's clearly,
Right.
it's a tradition. But
Right.
before that, I had bought the John Bauer Tarot, which is
Uh-huh.
really, not a
You're right.
system,
You're right.
and then several other like art decks like Tildwick and but like Wild Unknown
Hmm.
and Spirit Keepers and Brady.
Those
They're
aren't
not,
all
none of them,
strictly
they're not
RWS. Yeah,
really like, I can't say, oh, they were Thoth or what. No, they were their own thing.
right.
And so I felt like the spirit of the question was about other systems. And the first deck I bought in another system was the Marshmallow Marseille.
Gotcha. That was like very completely, very clearly not touched by RWS in any way. That makes sense. Hello, Terra Geek. Nice to see you. Okay. First thing you ever started collecting?
I had a stamp collection when I was a kid.
Did you?
Yeah,
And no longer? No.
no,
Okay.
that
Um,
stayed in my parents' home when I moved away to college, and
yeah.
I never took it back
And that
out.
was that. Yeah, I
That
hear
was that.
you. Okay. A first pet.
The first pet that I had of my own as an adult
Hmm.
uh, was a domestic short hair lynx point named
Wow.
Parvati.
Wow. Where did you it was because those
An
are not very
adoptee.
common.
No,
Sorry?
it was, many years ago, and it was in San
Yeah.
Francisco, and
Ah,
it was, somebody's pet had a litter of kittens, and
wow.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Was it but so it was domesticated. Did it seem fairly tame, or did it have a little bit of spunk to it being kinda
Oh no, I just mean it wasn't an Asian short hair.
Oh, okay, okay. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
it was
thinking a different
like a
breed.
U.S. domestic short hair, so the head shape and everything wasn't. It
Ah,
wasn't like a
gotcha, okay.
Siamese. Yeah.
I must be thinking of, like, a different breed that's, like, more wildcat-like, but it's
Oh no, it was
blended with
just a
something else.
cat.
It was just a cat.
Just a cat.
Just a regular old cat. Okay, my bad. Hi, Mimi, how are you? Okay, and then, first movie you saw in a theater?
I'm sorry, you broke up there.
Oh, I'm sorry, first movie you saw in a theater?
Oh, the first movie I remember is was at a drive-in, and it was Bambi,
Oh.
and we left after the mother died. Spoiler alert! Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, I was very young, and then I'm sure that I went to other movies, but the one that I remember is that, like, as a teenager, probably, The Wizard of Oz was re-released in theaters, and my
Oh.
mother made my sister and I go see it because we'd seen it on TV, and we wouldn't have
Mhm.
gone, but of course we had a black and white TV. So
Ah,
we didn't know that it starts out black and white and changes to color.
that
And my
fascinating.
mother didn't tell us, and she made us go and see it in the theater so
Ah.
we could experience that.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. Have you seen the sequel to that or sequel? The one
No.
it's a more I wanna say it's a more contemporary one, maybe in the I forget when it was filmed, but it was like a younger Fairuza Balk, and it's more of a contemporary one and a little bit
Hmm.
darker. That's the one actually I remember seeing before the original Wizard of Oz, ironically. I watched that
Oh,
one first and then went back to the other one, so, okay. And then your first celebrity crush.
Mark Hamill.
Okay, I understand that. Not Harrison Ford? I see, I was always Harrison Ford.
Yeah. I mean, now, now I totally go for Harrison Ford, but when I was 17, it was Mark Hamill.
Okay, gotcha. I hear you. Yes, Return to Oz. Thank you,
Oh.
Kristen Louise. That's what it was. That one, yeah, that one was a little bit dark. Okay, so, your first paycheck.
I worked for an ice house. Um,
Ah,
they didn't no longer made ice except for ice cubes, but yeah, it was one of those big, tall concrete buildings, with lots of space inside.
mhm.
because the heat rises, and so you keep it cold down below. But it
Yeah.
was still in business because I grew up in the desert and irrigated farmland, and so farm workers would come, like crews would come and buy a block of ice to put inside their coolers that would
Hmm.
melt over the course of the day and give them cold water.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
I worked for a company that sold ice
How long did you do that for?
for about 3 years
Okay. All
until I got a learner's permit for driving, and
right. Then,
then I got a job checking traps in cotton fields that trap boll weevil moths so that you
oh,
can just figure out when to spray insecticide on the fields.
oh
So
gosh.
you go
Okay.
every morning and you count the moths and you report, you'd have a whole circuit of
Wow.
fields and you would report the numbers and they would use that to decide whether to spray.
You have had some interesting jobs, Kenneth, I will say. Hi, Asphasia Rising, Beth. You should have had that. Okay, this was not. I think this is in response to Amy was saying that that one was dark. I have a fear of Victorian mental hospitals because of that movie. Was there?
Oh.
Am I thinking the right? That is the right movie, right? Yes. Okay. Um, I don't remember that part. Anyway, okay. I need to go back and watch that. First piercing or tattoo?
Got my ear pierced when I was in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my thorny branch tattoo in
Yeah.
when I was on vacation in London
I'm
about,
gonna blow you up.
I don't know, 5 or
Very
6 years
cool.
ago.
And then you got the new one to match.
Yes, and I got this
Yeah,
one in the fall.
very
Or no, I
nice.
got it this spring.
Very nice.
And the
Love
most
it.
recent piercing was I had a nose ring for many years, and I got the
Oh,
other
the
one
other
done
one.
last fall.
Very nice. Are you thinking of like completing with the trio, like the septum piercing? No.
I doubt it.
All right. On to favorites. A favorite hobby outside of tarot.
Reading, mostly speculative fiction.
Oh, okay. And how about a favorite thing to shop for other than decks and witchy items?
Um, Yarn is a
Okay.
real soft spot, even
Yeah.
though I don't knit or crochet consistently enough to justify buying more yarn. But that, you know, if you
Yeah.
knit or crochet, you know that that doesn't stop you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like with anything, like stationery junkies where we buy like a crap ton of stationery and journals and notebooks and then we just don't use them. So do you like make tarot pouches for your decks? Do you like knit tarot pouches or what is it that you like to knit or crochet?
Um, the my favorite thing to knit is lace shawls,
Oh, nice.
and so yeah,
Cool.
it's funny because when every or most a lot of people go through a phase of you make socks because it's like kind of an accomplishment to make socks.
Okay.
And I've knitted socks, and the leg portion, you
Uh-huh.
just go, you knit around and around and around,
Uh-huh.
to make a tube. I find that like the most tedious thing on earth.
Okay.
But it's funny that when you knit lace, often every other row is just plain. The
Okay.
pattern happens in every other row. And so
Uh-huh.
if you're doing a big shawl,
Yeah.
every other row is just knitting around this
Yeah.
and somehow I don't find that tedious.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes, like Amy is saying, the yarn stash is a problem. Yes, yes, the tattoos are cool. It makes me want to get a tattoo again. I've been thinking, I've been jonesing for one. Let's see, if I go to yarn store and buying yarn, I have no time, but I buy yarn anyway. And then we have a
Yeah,
question from Beth. Just curious, does Kenneth own the Yarn Tarot? I love that deck and keep asking people who knit if they have it because I don't knit.
I don't.
Okay,
The art style hasn't particularly called to me.
gotcha.
Uh, so,
I hear you. And
oh,
Amy
yeah.
agrees with you. Find all circular knitting tedious. Okay. I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. Favorite book?
Uh, Little Big by John Crowley.
Oh, do I
It's
know that? Okay.
probably 30 years old at this
Okay.
point. It was a World Fantasy Award winner,
Oh,
um, and it's a fairly thick, engrossing
thick. Okay.
fantasy.
See, that's
Um,
probably why I haven't read it then, because you said it was really thick. So I tend I tend to stay away from real ones that are just a little bit too thick.
no,
So
my choice is always long books rather than uh,
really?
like I don't really enjoy short stories for the most part, and
Really?
yeah,
Oh,
and
okay.
even like a novella. I mean that it can be okay, but given a choice between a novella and you know a big honking book, I'll pick the big honking book.
Wow. So you don't ever have the impatience of like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't made a dent in this book." Or maybe you're a fast reader, so it doesn't bother you. Because I know that I'm not the fastest reader, so I just feel like I'm not making any headway sometimes, and
Hmm.
so
No, I if the story engages me, I'll pretty much like go through
play
and
through it.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And
And
back in
so
the day, I would stay up and read until 3 in the morning, and I really can't
actually
do
me
that
too.
anymore.
No, I can't either. I can't either. My reading frequency has definitely taken a nosedive, but, do you like series? Do you prefer
Yes.
series over stand oh, wow, okay.
Well, I have tried to discipline myself to not start a series unless it's finished,
Okay.
uh, because of, uh, some notorious examples of unfinished series.
Yes. Yes, I know. Mhm, yeah. Yeah, I'm still waiting
Hi,
on is
Laura.
it Hi, Laura, how are you? I'm still waiting on Patrick Roth what is it? Roth have you read his books? Oh my gosh, see, it's been so long I don't even remember the novels' names. Something in the Wind, something, and then
Oh,
Fear.
Rothfuss.
Yes, that dude.
Yeah.
Aren't
No,
we
I've
still
never read
waiting?
his.
Okay. I think we're still waiting on a book from him, and we are forever waiting on George R. But I haven't read any of them.
Yeah.
So, but I just hear from people who have and are super frustrated by that. So,
When
um,
I actually started, A Song of Fire and Ice or Ice and Fire, whatever,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I when I got to maybe the 3rd volume,
uh-huh.
and I was just pissed off. It's like,
Okay.
needed to be edited, which is something that happens with really successful authors. I thought it should have been more tightly edited, and he made this choice. The books are, um, like the from chapter to chapter, it changes character point of
Mhm.
view.
Point of view, yeah.
And he, after a couple of books, he made the choice where 2 volumes cover the same time period, but the first volume was one set of characters, and then the second volume was going to be a different set of characters, but the same time.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was about the time that people started complaining to him, and he got
Yeah,
really,
I know.
like, really full of attitude about
Yeah,
"You're not the
right.
boss of me," and I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna buy your shit.
Exactly.
Fine.
I think many other
You don't
people
want me to
came
be
to
your
that.
boss? I'm not gonna pay your salary."
Very good, yep. I agree, I agree. Um, okay, let me see, let me just catch up here. Actually, Beth, Sarah from Water Child Tarot, I think she has the yarn tarot. So she might be worth hitting up. Um, okay, let me see. I don't want to admit how many unfinished series I'm in the middle of. This is why lately I've been really preferring standalone novels because I feel very accomplished. I feel like I can then move on with my life and start anew with another story from another world. So, anyway, all right.
The one continuing series that I've committed to is CJ Sherry's Foreigner
Oh, okay. I'm
books,
not
which are,
familiar.
I mean, it's, one that she's been writing for 30 years, 40 years,
Oh,
who
okay.
knows? No,
Okay.
no discernible endpoint.
Gotcha. So it's
Like a
like, what are
soap
their
opera.
series? Yeah, I was gonna say, so is it like a standalone within its own book, but then there's like maybe an overarching plot
Well,
line or
it's definitely a through line with characters,
okay.
and she tends to write in arcs of 3 books,
Oh, I
so
see.
that
Okay.
the 3 books would make sense together. But it is one of the things where the farther along an author
Yeah.
goes in world building like that, it's
Yeah.
like you really can't just pick up the beginning of the most recent
Right.
triad.
Yeah.
You'd be lost.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Beth is saying, I started the series Discovery of
Mm,
Witches, but lost interest after the second one. Yep. Same. I don't think I even started the second one.
mm.
I think I kind of was like after the first one, I'm like, and I'm done. Okay. A favorite movie or show?
I found this the brutal one.
Okay. Really?
And so I'm going, the whole, not the favorite. You're very careful to say a favorite,
No
but I
favorite.
have a list. I have a
Okay, go
list.
for it.
Anything with
Go for
Fred
it.
and Ginger, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers.
Okay.
But then probably if I had to name one, it might be The Awful Truth, which is Cary
Okay.
Grant and Irene Dunn. They're they made 2 films together where they're a couple that become alienated for different reasons, and then it's a screwball comedy about them eventually getting back together. Um,
Gotcha.
and The
Okay.
Philadelphia Story, also
Okay.
Cary Grant with Katharine Hepburn and Jimmy Stewart, is, I think, really very funny. And His Girl Friday with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell. Um,
So
there's
you
a
are a
book.
Cary Grant fan.
Well, and I'm a screwball comedy fan,
Ah, okay.
and he for me, he's one of the best. Um,
Yeah.
there was a book, I don't know how old it is. It's probably 30 years old, called Fast Talking Dames.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, literally, in screwball comedies, how fast the dialogue is.
Mm.
And like they did studies of like timing it, and His Girl Friday is one of the fastest dialogue films
Okay.
that they looked at.
Huh. Okay. I also enjoy Cary Grant, but actually I've enjoyed I guess I am more of like a drama person because I have enjoyed like Charade, which he's kind of funny in Charade with Audrey Hepburn, but I that was a little more serious. And then there was one with a plane.
Yes.
What's that famous what's that famous one? Is it North by Northwest? Is that it?
Yes, with Kim Novak, I think. I
Yeah.
don't think I've seen that. The
Um
like Once it got into color, then I stopped watching as much. And
gotcha.
but then even like Arsenic and Old Lace, which is
I haven't seen that one.
definitely a screwball comedy and it's black and white, and it's actually, the humor is so corny that I find it painful.
Okay. I was also did you like Rock Hudson? Because he was probably my favorite.
Oh no, no.
Okay. Okay. I liked him. I don't know.
Oh yes,
Um,
Eva St. Marie. Yeah,
what is
in
that?
North by Northwest, it was Eva
Ah.
St. Marie,
Oh,
not
okay, okay.
Kim.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. You just named. Oh, nice. All right. Okay. One come to learn, actually, with Rock Hudson, I only came to learn recently that he wasn't a very nice man at all, which like kind of broke my heart because I always loved him and the Doris Day. Like I really liked their chemistry. So I really enjoyed their movies specifically together. Anyway. Okay. A favorite crystal.
Obsidian.
Ah, very, very good. Favorite nail polish color.
Well, as a gay man of a certain age, I feel obligated to say jungle red, but
That's
which is
I don't think I've ever
which
seen
is a
you wear
plot
red.
point, which is a plot point in The Women.
Okay.
um, but in terms of real life nail
Uh-huh.
polish that I own and I'm actually wearing, this is called Carbon,
Ah,
and
yes, I remember seeing that. Very nice.
I'm so catching the light.
Very, very nice.
It's from I Love Nail Polish, which is
Yes.
where my nail polish guru buys her nail polish. And
Yeah,
so I
and
just
I
follow suit.
since and I have learned from you, my nail polish guru, to now buy from ILNP, which I didn't even know stood for I love nail polish. Like it didn't even occur to me until somebody was like, "Where did you get your nail polish?" And then they were like, "Oh, that must mean I love nail polish." And I was like, mind blown. It didn't even occur to me. Anyway, okay, so ready for the surprise bonus question. Okay.
Yep.
We're going to do Kiss, Marry, and Kill out of these three decks: the Sasarai Bito, the Il Menegello, and the Brady Tarot.
And the what?
The Brady Tarot.
Marry Cesar Ibito, kiss Il Menegello, and kill the Brady.
Oh, really? Kill the Brady. Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That was
If I
very
have to.
fast. Very fast. So we have
Oh
that.
yeah, bringing up Great Baby is very fun.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's the one with the
Okay.
leopard.
Oh, I have seen that one, but I don't remember much
Yes.
about it, but I've seen a lot. I feel like I've seen several kind of Cary Grant movies, but can't recall all of them.
Yeah. Although
Okay.
that's one where I think Katharine Hepburn is uh, really good in that one.
Okay. I maybe have to watch that one again. All right. People are a fan. Okay, I'm gonna have to hunt for that one. All right. Okay, so let's start with some questions. So when did the interest in tarot begin for you? So you said it was around what, 2018 or 19, did you say?
Yeah, 2019 when I moved
Okay.
to just after I moved to Provincetown, I kind of took it back up.
Okay.
I'd
And
had
what was
a long dry spell spiritually, and
yeah.
it felt like tarot was a way to kind of try to get back into that.
And what about tarot like initially had appealed to you?
The almost entirely its kind of usefulness for self-reflection,
Mm, mhm. Gotcha.
for uh, you know externalizing some image or archetype or something, and being able to in effect get another point of view because you're forced to interpret this random card.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's all still coming from me,
Right,
but it's
exactly.
something that wouldn't have come up on its own. I need that external stimulus.
Right. Very good. Okay, so and then what was the deck that made tarot really click for you? Like when you came back into it, was there a deck that you felt you really bonded with in that way, where it just became very comfortable and easy, and you felt like you reached your groove?
Hmm. Um. Well, there were different ones. The one that Um, well, even though I don't really use it much, I find the Rider-Waite Smith really a touchstone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's not like it's inspiring, but it seems very useful.
Mm-hmm.
And back when I first had tarot decks, I got like the first edition of Mary Greer's Tarot for Yourself.
Mm. Yeah.
And so when I got back into it, I bought the current edition and uh, and discovered I didn't like it quite as much, and then hunted around for a used version of an earlier edition. Um,
Gotcha.
but so that approach was actually very engaging, even though there are other decks that I like much more
Uh-huh.
visually now, and that I
Right.
kind of
That was still a touchstone. Um, so then Mary Greer, that was an important resource for you. And did you find any other resources helpful as you were kind of getting back into it?
yes. Oh dear, I'm going to Kelly, not not American Kelly, but English Kelly.
Kelly Bear?
Um, not Kelly Bear. Um,
English Kelly. English
she's
Kelly.
very dramatic, bright
Kellyanne
red
Maddox?
lipstick.
Kellyanne
Yes,
Maddox?
Kellyanne Maddox. She is. That's how my mind. It's like names, totally abstract. I'm like, but it's like, I would have.
Description. Yes.
They would have gotten around to, and her brother just died, and
Yeah. Oh no.
it's like
Yeah. I
out
hear
of
you. I
control.
would have got. Yeah. I would have gotten
Um,
there. I would have gotten there.
but she had early on when I discovered Tarot Tube, I discovered a series of like basically Tarot 101
Yes.
videos
Yes.
that I found really useful.
Same. Same. I
Where
watched
she
that
goes
same
over the
series.
you know
Yep. Yep.
elements and a little bit of numerology and um,
Yeah.
so
And
yeah,
it's free.
those are the standouts.
Yeah. I mean, it's just such a I mean, she put so much time into it, and not only that, but she made it free for everybody, so that's amazing.
Yeah,
And I learned a lot from that as
and
well.
yeah, since
Mhm.
now I've enjoyed learning from and arguing with Tom Benjamin's books.
Yeah. Yes, he does have, his own opinions about how to read. Um, Definitely. And so what is your favorite tarot system, if you will? Like RWS versus more of like a pip
Yeah,
style
it's
numerology? It is
RWS.
RWS. Yeah.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so
So you would
I've
Mhm.
I've begun, buying some pip decks and kind of some hybrid Marseille Rider Waite decks, um, but yeah, it's really RWS is the
Yeah,
system that I like.
gotcha. And Beth is saying, "I just subscribed to
Oh,
your
thank
channel,
you.
Kenneth. Anyone who likes arsenic and old lace is my buddy." Very nice, very nice. Um, let's see. Yes, I agree, MA. Very good. Well, hello, Lala Love Song. How are you? Okay. Um, so so you have mentioned that you were involved in like the Quaker religion. Now you are involved in the Unitarian Universalists, and you are actually working for that local congregation now. Um,
Yeah,
and so am I understanding that like the Unitarian Universalist is a very kind of open type of spirituality, so that your beliefs as a Quaker are nicely kind of folded into that if you choose? Is that correct, or
yeah. The UU is a non, its history goes back to Puritans, so it's really
Yeah.
funny because if you follow back uh, a certain way of tracing, lineages, well, the ancestors of the UUs hung Quakers on Boston Common.
Oh, oh,
But they
okay. Well,
it ended up actually being quite sympathetic.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. All right, and then so would you say, I mean, that, those practices, have influenced how you use the tarot? And if so, how?
Um, yeah, there are a couple of ways. One is the I guess the deeper one comes from my Quaker practice,
Okay.
which is that when I read the cards for myself, or also when I have read for other people, which I haven't done a lot, but I'm moving in that direction, is I really have a baseline understanding that uh, what people need to know is already inside them,
Mhm, mhm.
and that the cards just happen to be a tool for drawing that out.
Yeah,
That I, as a reader, or the cards as a physical object, are not the source of whatever wisdom comes out of a reading. That
right.
the wisdom is available directly to every individual, and
Gotcha.
that
Yeah,
personal practices or something like a tarot reading can help to draw that out of a person, that deeper
absolutely.
truth.
Yeah,
Um,
gotcha.
and it's funny because my approach to tarot is very agnostic about the woo. um, and it's
Yeah,
funny because, of course, anybody who does tarot, like, the woo happens.
it does.
When you
It's
when
inevitable.
you draw majors all the time, or when a card keeps coming up and you switch a deck and the same card comes up,
Card keeps coming up. Yep, yep.
any of those things, it's like, well, this is woo, and it's happening. Um, but it's funny because I'm very ambivalent about it, and yet when I was a very active practicing Quaker, it's very much a spiritual religion that believes in divine revelation, and
Mhm.
and I
Right.
was like perfectly comfortable with it. And so I kind of sometimes wonder what's going on there, and is it that I felt burned
Mhm.
uh, for a while, and the tarot is a way that's kind of inviting me back into
Mm.
uh, trusting that.
Mhm. Gotcha, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
hi,
you, Pamela.
Patty. Oh, hi, Pamela. The woo happens, it sure does. Hello, just wanted to tell you that you have a spectacular beard. Yes, he does. He is spectacular on the whole. Um, so then, do your congregation members know that you do tarot?
um, well, I'm new in the staff role, and I haven't hidden it. I've talked
Mhm,
about it with some people, and um, like the minister that I work with on a day-to-day basis, she knows about
mhm.
it. And
Okay.
I don't know that I've ever, like, specifically shared the my tarot tube link or anything. But
Right, yeah. Oh gosh, even I haven't shared my TerraTube links with anyone. Very few. Have I? In my on offline life? I don't think I've shared my YouTube video or my channel link with anybody. So anyway,
but I put it on my Facebook.
yes,
So
yes.
at some point fairly early on, even though I chose a channel name,
Mhm,
it's fairly early on, I decided I was just, it's like, it's there. It's me.
mhm.
Um, Kind of
Yeah, and you
similar
have it on your blog,
to, yeah.
right?
When
Yes.
I've been involved in Second Life, which is like an online virtual world kind of
Mhm.
thing. Um, where when I joined, it was very, very much into, you had an avatar name, and like revealing somebody's identity was like, you could get you kicked off the platform.
Yeah.
Um, and yet, at some point, it's like, no, I do that. That's me, and
Mhm.
I'm that. And um, my experience has been that if you are online kind of constructing a persona,
Mhm.
uh, and even if somebody never sees your an actual picture of you, but like if you're working only through an avatar and you might even be role playing,
Mhm.
I feel like the self is revealed. That there
Mm.
is no we cannot avoid revealing ourselves, even if
Mm.
we don't intend to.
Okay.
Um,
That's deep. Oh, everyone loves the woo happens. Everyone loves that. Woo happens. I know we will make it a hashtag. We will make it a Kenneth hashtag and for one, a bumper sticker too. That's funny. Okay, so, um, and you also use Oracle, correct? You have some Oracle decks.
I
I
do.
yeah. So how does that, I mean, did you find Oracle around the same time that you started picking up tarot again and getting into tarot tube, or was that more of like a, did you always know about Oracle? Because I know that I didn't.
No, I didn't. But I must have learned about it pretty early on and started trying Oracle decks. I
Right.
didn't buy, I I've gone through quite a spendthrift
Uh-huh.
period with tarot. And so at the beginning I was buying a lot of tarot decks, just like throwing spaghetti at the wall to see which ones stick.
I think that's normal,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And and Oracle decks, I bought a few, and then later on they picked up steam, and now I look at the last 6 months, I probably bought more Oracle decks than I have tarot decks. Although I've tried to just really slow down because I have too many, and so.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Patrice is saying the self is, yes, I know. He's full of gems today. Absolutely. All right. And so then how would you, is there a specific way that you've incorporated Oracle into your practice? Because I
Oh,
know that on your channel you've said you were gonna maybe do some videos on like what Oracle decks pair well or don't pair well with anything at all, etc.
um, I I've done different things. Sometimes I would uh, like pull an oracle card first and literally like put it right in the middle, and then put tarot cards on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that depending on the deck, if it's an abstract deck, um, if the concepts are abstract, that would be like a context or a container for the tarot reading. And um, then sometimes I've experimented with kind of doing an elemental reading where I pull a card for earth and for air and for fire and for water, would be tarot cards,
Uh-huh.
um, random from the whole deck. So, and then use an oracle card for spirit.
Oh,
I would
wow.
put
Okay.
in the center.
Oh, nice.
Um, Although if I'm using only a tarot deck and want to do elemental work, I'll tend to use the majors as spirit,
Oh,
as
okay.
and the suits are the other elements, and I'll use the majors as spirit. But
Oh, wow. Very
um,
cool.
yeah, so mostly I use Oracle as a kind of a reflection on the tarot, but
Gotcha.
there are decks that I'll just pull an Oracle card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the ones that are more self-care, self-helpy, but
Yeah.
also some that just feel like they might have a message, and I'll just pull one.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So, what is one aspect of your card reading style that you feel has kind of changed or evolved since you started back up in a few years ago?
Um, I think that it has grown. It's the fact that it has grown to include. Um, I want to say looking at the future,
Hmm.
although I don't. Uh, I don't personally believe that the cards can tell the future.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
it's like I don't use them for fortune telling, but but as we've said, woo
Woo
happens.
happens.
Uh, and and the more I've watched different tarot tubers or done more reading, and the accepting the interpretation that um, whatever the cards are saying to me right now
Mhm.
are actually the starting conditions for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes
Um,
perfect sense,
but
yeah.
so that I've become uh, occasionally I will do a spread or something that is kind of future oriented
Mhm.
in a way that I wouldn't have when I first came back to tarot.
Wow, very nice, very nice. And then so do you have a method for particular decks that you, choose to work with? I mean, are you kind of a planner where you choose ahead of time, or are you a mood based, or how
I'm more mood
you
based.
are?
Um, as I've mentioned, this year I was feeling at loose ends and
Mhm,
depressed during the winter, and I wanted to remain engaged with tarot, and so I made a commitment to myself that I would draw two cards every day,
mhm.
and not read them. Not ask, it's not about. There's no commitment beyond I'm just going to draw two cards, and so for that I have been. Um, I don't select the deck on the spur of the moment when I draw the card. I will uh, on the spur of the moment decide it's time for a new deck,
Yeah,
but then I'll use a specific deck for a period of time.
okay. And then just a period of time until you just feel called to switch it out and use a different one.
Yep. I
Yeah,
think for the first month I used the deck for the whole month.
okay.
And then after that I've been like I'll just feel like, oh, it's time for a new deck. Or I pick a new deck and I use it one day and I go like, this isn't gonna be fun. And I pick another one.
So when you get a new deck, are you the type of person who's like, I must use this deck immediately? This is the deck I'll be using now. Or
No,
do you no? Oh, okay.
yeah,
No.
no.
All right. All right. So speaking of, you were saying you were doing like the daily two card draws. And you were saying in your recent video that that's kind of giving you insight into like what decks you prefer over others. So, can you like elaborate? Is there like a call in your future? Is there?
Well, I've
Is
actually
it,
done one call.
oh, you have.
Like
Okay.
at the end of last year, I a group that actually Amy's in that meets occasionally.
Hmm.
It was my first. I think the first time I joined them, it was a deck swap.
Oh,
And for
nice.
instance, I got rid of Carnival at the end of the world. Is that the end of it?
Carnival at the end. That sounds right.
Anyway, and it went to Amy, and
Yes.
Amy sent me the Druid Craft. Um, so I'm I'm totally spacing out on what that question was.
I was just talking about like,
Oh,
your
a
2
call.
cards, yeah, the
Oh, yeah.
call.
Yeah, because I had decided that they're just taking up too much space.
Okay.
And so I've gone through and I've started to kind of sort, but
Okay.
I haven't done it incredibly intentionally. No.
Okay. So mhm,
And none of the decks that I've used this year for the daily draw, I don't think any they're all in the I think I like these.
mhm,
I mean, so none of them were unsorted. What
okay.
I had done was I packed up most of my decks, and so um, the interesting things are that there are decks where I think, oh, where's thus and such deck that which I had clearly packed away, and it's not readily available.
Right.
So that's been interesting to notice that.
Mhm,
And then there are decks where, like, I used the Squid Cake Marseille
mhm.
one day because when I drew the two cards, I think I got two face cards. Um, or two pips,
Mm.
and I just thought, oh, this is going to be boring. And I love the deck. I adore Squid
Right.
Cake Marseille, but
Mhm.
it's like so part of the drawing the two cards is like they're decks that well, Tarot of Delphi. I love the Tarot of Delphi, but I've realized this year that these art decks that I think are beautiful don't really speak to me to read them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I totally understand.
And so they're fine for drawing 2 cards a day if all that's just, and and I get to enjoy them, and they're pretty, and I put them up and I look at them over the course of the day. But it also revealed, oh, I'm not going to read with that deck.
Mhm. Mhm. No,
Um,
I've had similar experiences, and just kind of similarly where, you get a deck and it's beautiful. It has all of the elements, each card has all of the elements. I mean, there's nothing on surface level wrong with that deck. You obviously buy it because you are attracted to it, and then you get it and it's like, I feel nothing. I feel no no inclination to read with this. It continues to
yep,
feel very surface level, and that's disappointing. Oh well. So goes to show
yeah.
looks aren't everything, you know? So
I'm looking at the list of the decks I've used, and yeah, the ones where I mentioned that they're decks where you can't really draw 2 cards.
yeah,
They don't work that, and it's
right.
Oracle decks that just don't work that way.
Yeah, I actually have, yeah, I understand. And I agree with you about pip decks as well. As much as I love them, will I usually like them for like larger, more intentional readings or spreads, and not like a daily pool kind of
Yeah.
situation. So thank you so much, Pamela. That is very sweet of you. And come on down. Come on down to the casual convo if you're interested.
Hmm.
Hit me up. Anybody can hit me up. Um, let's see. Laura is saying I am a fan of 2 cards of the day rather than 1. I usually do 2 a day unless I've done any combination of 1, 2, 1 and 2. Um, right now I'm back to 1. So I wish I could do that. I feel like the
Liberty Gibbet.
Liberty Gibbet. Oh my goodness. My
A
old
Will o'
eyes.
the
When it
Wisp,
comes
a
to
clown.
I know that, and I should know that because it's hello. Um, this
Mm.
this one today, no one. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Man, Sound of Music, one of my favorites.
Yeah, if when I've tried, I'm really not very self-disciplined for like do this every day.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and a single card works if I'm like, what should I pay attention to today? It's like if I have a question, I'm going to ask the same question every day, or pull the card at the same time every day. Then a single card has tended to work better for me.
Hmm.
But in the context of nope, all I'm going to do is pull 2 cards.
Hmm.
Uh, well, it's boring.
Yeah.
You know, as
Yeah.
Laura said, 2 cards can have a little conversation, even if
Yeah.
you haven't asked a question,
Yeah.
or there's some dynamism at work.
Yes. Yes. I
Um,
agree. That's very true. And um, actually, when I've been doing my one card draws, I've actually, I've drawn the card, and lately I haven't even, kind of like you, I'm not going to think about it. I kind of actually just want to, I want to draw the card. I want to note it in my little journal for that. And then what I have been doing lately is coming back the day after to see how that particular card panned out the day before, as opposed to keeping it in mind throughout the day, if
mhm.
that makes any sense. So that's kind of something that I've been enjoying. And Beth does 3 in the morning. Very nice. Okay. So do you know around how many decks you have? Like
I have a
a,
spreadsheet.
you do have a spreadsheet? Okay.
Which is where I keep track of. I started keeping track of when I bought them
Yeah.
and when I discard them or pass them on.
Pass them on. Okay.
Um, if you so I because I like shiny things, I have
Oh.
OM and OM decks, and I have runes and rune decks, and I have some Lenormand. I have one Kipper
Hmm.
deck, then I have some decks that aren't tarot or oracle. like,
Yeah.
I have Oblique Strategies, the Brian Eno and, I forget his collaborator. They're meant for the creative process, and it's like you hit a wall and you draw a card and it says, "Throw one thing away," or,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
um, but anyway, if you include all of those, I have just over 160.
Okay. I don't think actually that's not I know people who have way more than that, and
Yeah.
no judgment on anybody with any size collection, okay? So, um, and so are you feeling you feel sounds like you feel pretty comfortable with that. It's not really a number. I mean, it's not something that you're kinda cognizant about, or is it?
No, I mean, over the last, say, 6 to 9 months, I've realized, "Oh, I'm not gonna use all of these."
Mhm.
And they're taking up room. I have a tiny little apartment,
Yeah.
and so I need to just go ahead and let go of some of them, and so I have. Like, I gave away my Vitruvian because
Well,
I got it early on, it was fear of missing out.
yeah, yeah,
It was after the Kickstarter, however the original orders went, and she
yeah.
still had a few, and I bought one, and it just is like,
Didn't work for you.
no,
Yeah. I
not at
remember.
all.
I remember. And then I remember your no disclaimers
Yes.
and your feelings about the revelation. So I get it, I get it.
um and yet, I really felt that it was, uh I didn't want to sell it.
Mm,
I
mhm,
And so there was a tarot trade, and somebody really wanted it very badly, um and she had an Il Minigello deck that's
mhm.
out of print, and again, it's like their decks are not easy to use
Yeah,
at all,
I know. I do know. I just by looking at it.
but they're lovely to
Yeah.
have, and so yeah, so I've done some of that where I've like, no, I need to just this needs to move along.
Mhm. But do you have decks that you have chosen to keep even though you know you're not gonna use them? You've maybe
Yeah,
chosen to keep them for sentimental purposes or, as a reference or something like that?
yeah, or
Yeah.
because they're beautiful, and
Yeah, they're beautiful
and
works
so
of
I
art.
can just pull, uh, I can't have a practice of both reading and just pulling some cards to enjoy them
Enjoy it.
aesthetically.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, who is your favorite deck creator
Um,
or, favorite decks by somebody in
yeah.
particular or
Well, um, so probably my favorite recent deck
Mhm.
is the Woodland Wardens,
Aha.
which in case people aren't familiar, so it's
Nope.
an oracle deck, and there's a plant and an animal
Yeah.
on each, and the name with a keyword, and it's a little white book, and it's surprising that sometimes I don't usually use the book, but there are things, sometimes when the conclusion I draw from the
Mhm.
keyword is not at all what the book says.
Mhm.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's interesting.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah,
So yes, I agree, Laura. It does work with two cards.
yeah.
You can draw two of them, and there can be a relationship between them. And for a while, I was pulling one card from Druidcraft and one from this, and that seemed to work nicely. There's
Gotcha.
some other decks, and then the Forest Fae,
Ah,
which does not; these do not play well together.
okay. You would think they would, but I guess
But
maybe
yeah, they're,
everyone's different.
like if you just so yeah, because people might not have,
I
so
I was
there's
tempted by that one. I was very tempted. So, I love the shape. I love the
yes,
art. I love yeah, I was very tempted by that one, but it did not.
but so they each have a name of the Fae,
Mhm.
but then like some. direction, and I found that that they didn't really necessarily go together very
Okay.
well. But
Gotcha. Gotcha.
um, but
So,
then it's funny because it in terms of a favorite tarot deck creator,
mhm.
um, the Commonplace Tarot, and there's a Commonplace Oracle
Oh,
by
yes, I've
Nell
seen
Latimer.
this one. Yes, yes.
This is the second edition. I have the first edition. The first edition had a big black border, and
Yes,
so
I
the
remember
words
that.
were little. And so
Yes.
this is the second edition, and so I it's actually the deck that I'm using right now
Okay.
for my two cards.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of it being my favorite um, deck creator, it's
Mhm.
because I also own a lot of her other work.
Oh,
So like
yeah.
I did this was came with the Kickstarter for the second edition. It
Mhm.
and
Oh, that's gorgeous.
yeah, this is the most recent Llamas,
Wow.
and
Oh, that's beautiful too.
yeah, and then I'll show you one more. A green man.
Yeah. I don't like the Green Man typically, but that's a good one.
Yeah. So so I haunt her web store.
Yeah. No, very talented, and I would say that that second edition looks, great without the borders, because I remember that was kind of a frustration with a lot of people with the first, edition, so it's good
Yeah,
that you corrected that. That looks very nice. Um, okay, so would you say that you have a soul deck?
the Sassoribito.
That is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when did you first get the Samurai Beetle? Like, how did you come upon it? Did you just see it on TarotTube and decide,
Yeah, I think so.
okay.
My I have 3 copies. Um, I bought I think it was the 5th edition.
Mhm.
Um, so it's lovely cardstock, very nice flexibility,
Mhm.
gilded, and it's shiny.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then, when she announced that she was doing a matte version,
Mhm.
I bought that and the mini.
Yeah.
And I've the mini I edged in black,
Okay.
and also the new full size, I sanded off the gilding
Ah, okay.
and edged it in black. I can
Yeah.
actually have it here.
And didn't you say that that one you had like maybe larger borders than the previous edition, which was a
Yes.
little odd? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's approximately the same size, but,
Okay.
um
So she didn't really shrink the image itself,
well,
or is it because of
I
the
mean,
borders
it
and
is the image
slightly?
is slightly smaller,
Okay.
um,
'Cause I
but
know people were really
yeah,
excited about the mat. Oh, that looks great.
yeah, and as I use it more, you can see a little bit of shiny still
Yeah,
pokes through. I mean, unless I actually physically trimmed it, you
yeah,
can't really get rid of all of the gilding,
gotcha.
and especially the corners. It's hard to sand the corners.
Yeah. How long did
Um,
that take you to do?
a couple of days.
Okay. And that is why I still have yet to I think I've maybe done it with did I do it with 1? Maybe I've done it with 1 deck, and I recall it took a while, more than was worth the deck that I did it to, so
I
let's
mean,
just
the edging was really easy. I mean, I did that all in one evening
yeah,
because,
yeah, yeah,
I used a Sharpie, and there's a black border on the front. The back is very dark.
right.
It's like,
You don't have to be precious or pristine about yeah,
it's
exactly,
just,
exactly.
yeah.
What is Lala saying? The Green Man looks like the Beast in the 90s TV show with Sarah Connor. Yes, Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, Linda Hamilton. Linda Hamilton? I think I know what you're saying. That TV show. with Ron Perlman played. I think it was Ron Perlman that played the Beast. Fun fact. Anyway, okay. So what are the decks that you are like have been recently using and currently loving? So you're talking about the Commonplace Tarot. Is that the one, pretty much the one that you have just exclusively been using lately, or are there
Oh,
others that you?
no,
Okay,
that just happens to be the
that just
most
happens to
recent
be.
choice. Um,
So,
the well, the Woodland Wardens is really quite recent, and I
mhm.
really love that. And so that's going to come back into use pretty soon, I think. But the other newish deck that I find really charming is the Curious Travels.
Oh, I've seen this one.
Um,
Yes, it looks pretty adorable.
and so there's some very subtle gilding, like the swords here are gold.
Uh-huh. Aw, that
And
really is pretty.
yeah, there's something about it that really uh, that really clicks for me.
Yeah. Is that an owl head on a
It
human body?
is.
Okay, yeah, maybe that okay. That'll have to be a no-go, Kenneth. No-go for me. And Laura as well, if
Yeah,
I remember correctly. Um, but that is I love the, illustration,
yeah,
style of it.
yes. And she's, I think, in art school. I think she goes to RISD, Rhode Island School of
Oh, okay.
Design.
Okay.
Um, and it's not clear to me, like, how into tarot she is,
Uh-huh.
but the cards managed to, like, really do it for
They're
me,
beautiful. They
you know?
really are. They really are. And
And it's a pretty chunky deck, and
oh,
it's not
yeah.
very flexible, so,
Yeah, that would be
you
an
know.
issue for me. Laura is saying I've never owned the Sasturai Beetle and sometimes wonder if I'm the only tier 2 person that hasn't. Okay, so I've never owned it either, Laura. I borrowed it on loan to see if it would drive, and it did not. But I'm wondering, but I am tempted by the tiny traveler because it's linen and it's cute. And maybe now's the time. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't time back then for me, but so I am tempted by the little pocket edition for sure.
Oh, yeah, and Pamela, it's, Curious Travels.
Yeah. Curious Travels. And
And it
that's an indie. That's an indie deck, correct?
I
Or maybe it is mass market.
wonder if it's gotten picked up.
Ah, ah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. Same, Laura, same. And you know me and animal decks. And I'm still kind of tempted by the mini. Okay, I know I'm a sucker. It's like just the marketing aspect, like tiny. Yep, I have the tiny only love it. Okay, I'll need to think about that on my wish list. So are there any decks that you currently have that you're trying to connect with but are having a lot of trouble connecting with? That maybe will be in purgatory, or maybe you've already put it in purgatory or rehomed it.
Yeah, I not that I can really think of. I think that,
Okay.
like, if it doesn't speak to me, I just set it aside.
Okay.
I just move on.
You just move.
There
Wow, it's that quick, right?
Yeah, I mean, that there's n that well, because I have 160 decks,
That's true.
and because I'm not a
No time
planner,
to waste.
I mean, it's like there's always another one.
Yeah, very true.
Um, and so, yeah, I realized I don't really approach them as like, "Oh, I want to study this deck."
Ah, okay.
And, uh, and so far, I haven't acquired a deck where I feel um, like it's really a priority
Uh-huh.
to learn it.
Gotcha.
I mean, there are some, like, at some point, I if I hope that I'll, like, have the mental and emotional space to, like, do pip decks,
Mhm.
9 card spreads with pip decks
Oh
for
god.
2 months or whatever,
Oh my gosh, that sounds challenging.
Well, when I've taken classes with Tom Benjamin, that is one of the things he's done in those
Yeah,
classes, and because
I
his
know.
second book especially is really focused on the numerology and
Yes.
how to use any pip deck, or but a Marseille deck would be classic. But uh, so the whole bit about what direction are their eyes looking, and which direction are they facing, and all of that
Yeah.
kind of thing uh, is interesting, and I think will require me actually taking some time.
Yeah.
Um, and so at that point, I would do that. But even there, I have more than one deck that fits that. And so if
True.
the deck itself kind of is like this is kind of funky or ugly, or they're all looking straight on, or whatever it is,
Right, right.
I would just pull out a different one instead.
Very nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the Curious Travels,
Yeah.
it's AeroZR, A, let's see,
Let me hear. Let me blow you up.
AROZEAR.
Huh.
And the that is her website, arrowzr.com, and that's also her Instagram. Um, Boy, that's not focusing, is it? Oh, it's probably because it can see my face. Um,
Yeah.
that's also her Instagram handle.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Hello, Lise. How are you? She walks in beauty. Yes, mini decks are tempting. Laura, I too rock a fanny pack. I rock it every day to my husband's chagrin. And that is a good point. A mini deck, mini deck would fit in there. I don't really have I don't have one that's like small enough. Like it's more like pocket size, but yet not. I'm gonna have to think about that one. Let me see here, Julie. How many decks have been added to your wish list through through doing these convos? Oh, several, several. But I try to cool down. I try to cool down after the lives, make note, and then usually I've cooled off and can think more clearly after after being tempted. But the tiny traveler continues to tempt me for sure. Okay. So, what speaking of wish list, how do you have any decks on your wish list, Kenneth?
No, I've
No.
been really trying to avoid thinking about buying.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Gotcha. So does that mean also then maybe avoiding YouTube so that you're not tempted to buy more decks or see more new decks out there or
no.
okay. No, I love it. I love it. He's like, "No.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Not a problem for me."
Although, uh, you know, when I do add things to an Amazon wish list if they're mass market,
Mhm.
or in my browser, I have a folder in my bookmarks
Okay.
for tarot, and I'll add a deck if it's indie.
Mhm.
Um, but currently, what I'm doing is I'll put them there, but I don't actually look at those. I don't go and think, oh, what am I going to buy next? Because I'm
Mhm.
really trying to just not buy.
Yeah.
And Lisa Papez has been the number one source for me
Yeah.
of decks that I
For
didn't know about. And,
many of us, for many.
and oddly enough,
Yeah.
it's often the deck though I'm getting rid of decks
Uh-huh.
videos. And
Yeah.
there in the no disclaimers there was the question about bad reviews.
Yeah.
And I said, it's all about a review is meaningless unless you have some sense of what the reviewer uses to evaluate and what
Mhm.
their taste is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then the fact that somebody didn't like something can be really useful information.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
oh yeah, she doesn't like those, but I do.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like what she despises, I absolutely love. Run to purchase. So, oh, Kristen Liu, you don't have any mini decks? You must remedy that at once. Okay. So, just a few remaining questions left. So, what has your experience been on having a TerraTube channel?
Really wonderful.
Good.
There have been times when I felt like, you know, oh, I'm doing this wrong because I'm not posting on a schedule, or even I'm just not even posting for like a month or a month and a
That's
half at a
me.
time.
That's me too. Yeah.
But the it's even though earlier I said the thing about we reveal ourselves all the time, even if we're constructing a persona,
Yeah.
um, that I have been delighted at how watching someone's tarot tube on a regular basis, and even just very, very casual commenting, because I don't usually comment a lot, and
Mhm.
my videos don't typically generate a lot of comments.
Mhm.
But the fact that I've come to feel really connected
Mhm.
to people who are, by any objective standard, strangers,
Mhm. Exactly. Yes.
you know,
Yeah, it's amazing.
here I am delighted to be talking with you, or,
Yes.
the people who are here today, a lot of you I don't know, but it's like
Yeah.
Laura, it's like there are people where I just feel like I really click.
Quick. Absolutely.
And that has been a real delight. Uh,
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
that's the biggest thing. It's also kind of a fun creative
It
outlet,
is.
even
It
though I
absolutely
tend to do, like, I don't edit them. I sometimes will do 2 takes, but mostly I just do 1 take and
yeah.
that's it. But even if I'm only doing that, it's engaging a creative part of myself that is
It really is.
stimulated by just doing that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. So what advice do you have for somebody who wants to start learning the tarot?
Um, buy a deck that you think is beautiful,
Okay.
and, uh, and if it's financially feasible, uh, allow yourself to decide in a couple of months that you don't like that and you'd like another one instead.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and I would say, I think that it is helpful for a while to focus on kind of one teacher.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, like the fact that tarot for yourself is really shaped a large part of my approach to tarot,
Mhm.
even though, like, that I'm going to curse, that goddamn chapter on the whole birthday crap.
Do you have feelings about that, Kenneth?
like, and like, by what calendar? What, like, what if I use the Jewish calendar or the Chinese calendar or the whatever calendar? And here you're, so it's like, I just,
Oh
my,
my gosh.
like intellectual, my kind
Oh.
of like,
Uh-huh.
my approach just runs heads.
Yeah.
But the book as taken as a whole and her approach has been really helpful to me.
Right, right,
And then later, I start reading, uh, other people's
right.
books, either reference books or, but um, I would say if somebody's starting tarot today, that like one of Tom Benjamin's books would be not a bad place, depending on
Mhm.
what kind of deck you like.
Right.
One of his books would be better than the other.
Mhm.
Um, or like the Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa
It's a great
Simonga.
one.
I thought that's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, I have some disagreements with What the Fuck is Tarot,
Oh, I
and
have many
uh,
disagreements with what the but and I can still appreciate it.
yeah,
You know?
it's like
Yeah,
for some people it'll be
it'll be
great.
great. Yes,
Um, I
yes.
mean, that's like the oh, what was it called? There's a book. is there a book called Queer Tarot?
Yes,
Or
Queering the Tarot.
Queering the Tarot. Oh my God. If it hadn't been a library book, I would have thrown it across the room.
I believe Laura at Aquamarine 18 has similar feelings, if I'm recalling correctly. I think, yeah, I think that one wasn't as maybe popular. It didn't go very well over with a lot of people. I haven't read it. Just based on people's reactions, I did not read that
Well,
one.
at the time, there was some other book that I also read. And, you know, it's like, so for some people, that will be the perfect book.
Yeah.
It will address hurting spots in them, or it will open up things for them. It
Hmm.
was not good for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I've commented on how it's like I'm a gay man. I don't call myself queer,
Yeah.
and that there are queer decks or inclusive decks that I don't see myself in, and it's like that's fine. I don't need to see myself until you say, "Oh, this is a deck that includes everyone." Well,
Yeah.
I should be able to
Exactly.
see myself if it includes everybody.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
um, so it, but you know, but those decks are like the Numinous Tarot. I bought
Hmm.
it, beautiful, stunning artwork, and it is. I gave it to a non-binary
Yeah.
person that I was dating because it was perfect for them.
Uh-huh.
They wanted to get into tarot, and
Awesome.
for me, it was just like it just
No.
I felt other.
Yeah.
Beautiful deck, you
Yeah.
know, incredibly creative artist, creator.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, but the Queering the Tarot, there was some other book at the same time that I was reading about the same time where it just felt like the everything was filtered through the author's
Len.
very specific perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was one of the first times in tarot when I felt like my age makes a difference.
Mm, mhm.
That um, you know, I want to see liberatory, inclusive, queer in terms of orientation to the mainstream rather
Mhm.
than identity.
Mhm.
Um, I want to see writing like that that has come through the hard spots and has healed and can have uh, some larger perspective than I think some of the books that are frankly written by younger people who might not have worked through all of that.
Gotcha.
And and I know that I'm sounding very ageist, and I in fact was a religious leader at a young age, and so I know that there are young people who have worked through things.
Mhm.
But it's also true that sometimes one simply doesn't have enough experience to have fully worked through something,
Mhm.
and yet you're publishing. So
Yeah. No, I hear that. I hear you, definitely. Um, Lala would like to tell you that you have the most calm and soothing voice and attitude I've ever heard her sing. I agree with you. And at one point, I had asked Kenneth, I'm like, "Do you ever get mad? And if so, like, like, how do you?" I think it was in your Q&A. I asked, like, "How do you show your anger?" Because I could not imagine you really like blowing a fuse or anything. But yes, I totally agree.
yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
I grew up in a totally waspy. Nothing makes me angrier than when you don't acknowledge that my
Yes.
cold silence. Oh, and I
Yes.
really get mad.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. Oh my goodness. Okay, so we did have a question from Pamela. If you had a crush on a tarot archetype, which would it be? Ooh, and why?
Well, funny you should ask. I mean, in the abstract, I want to say the Hermit.
Okay.
Uh, I mean, just the Hermit, I guess, is one of the archetypes um, that I identify with.
Okay. Is it
Um,
the beard thing?
thanks, Laura.
Is that I'm just
Well,
teasing.
you know, I'm an introvert, and
Same.
you
Same.
know, I think I've been a spiritual seek. I grew up not in a religious household at all, but
Yeah.
most of my adult life, I felt like I've been a spiritual seeker.
Yeah.
But here, I mean,
Let me pull
Talk
you up again.
about an archetype crush. So this and the devil
Yeah.
in the Lightseers tarot.
You like that Devil in the Lightseers tarot?
Oh yeah.
W- Oh, wow. Really? Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yep. Yeah.
I
The like
love
the grunge musician,
it. Yes.
uh, age inappropriate. Yep. Just totally like
Age is just a number.
just
Oh
give
my,
me a sexy devil and
yeah.
boy, I'm right there.
Oh my gosh. That is so, so funny. Okay. Yes, he is. He's a gem. We must protect him at all costs. Okay. And then, okay, final question before we end. Any advice for people who want to start a YouTube channel?
uh, do what you like.
Yeah.
Don't pay attention to what any of us says.
Yeah. Absolutely. Perfect. Fantastic. And what a way to end.
Yeah.
So, oh my goodness.
Well,
All right.
thank
So
you
thank
for
you so
inviting me. This has been so much fun, and it's been so
thank
much fun
you.
seeing the comments and
Yes.
questions. And
Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to everyone in the live chat. As always, you make this such a pleasure. And again, if anybody at all, you don't have to have a channel to come on and talk to us. We'd love to get to know you better. So, once again, Kenneth's socials are in the description box below. So, do show him some love. And thank you again, Kenneth. This was a fantastic time. So,
thank you,
all right.
Jen.
Okay, everyone. Thanks so much. And until the next time, much love and take care.